What is up, everybody? Welcome to NFTs in the Arena. You with Mike and Jono this week. We were supposed to have a great guest this week, but unfortunately he wasn't able to join, but he will definitely be joining. It's a gentleman from South Africa who's very close to Jono and I, who has a significant amount of knowledge on cryptocurrencies and has invested heavily in Pulse Chain and Pulse X, and something that we want to educate our audience on and actually help people understand that there's things outside of NFTs and outside the stereotypical cryptocurrencies that are going on about. So Jono, what's up? First of all, hi man.
Yo, what's up, Mikey and peeps? How's everybody? How you, dude?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So the reason why I'm in a hotel room is I'm in New York this week, so hence the background. I think I did pretty well with the background. But
I love it, brother.
So yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's
Yeah,
pretty
sick.
cool. Yeah. So one day you'll have to end up here, John, in New York. Not to say that I'm
Oh
living
my
here,
word,
but
bro.
you get what I'm saying.
Where
Yeah.
about in New York? Are
So-
you there by so?
Yeah, I was there early on today.
Is it?
There's a lot to do, yeah, man. There's a lot to do, yeah. Lot to do,
Yo.
yeah.
Amazing, man.
And which has brought me to one of the things that I saw when I was coming home now, on the way back to the hotel, is outside the New York Stock Exchange. I was walking with a friend and they had these massive banners outside the New York Stock Exchange, exactly how you would envision it in the movies, with these large concrete pillars going from the ground level all the way up, and it's just immaculate. And they had these massive, what I would say, not billboards, but some form of advertising of whatever company is going to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange that week.
Oh, wow.
And tonight there was, it was called, let me just get it right before I don't say it right. It's basically, I would say it's in competition with UFC. It's a mixed martial arts organization. It's an MMA league, and it's called PFL, Professional Fighters League. And
Okay.
they just got listed on the New York Stock Exchange, it seems like. And it's amazing because we were talking about last week how sports is pioneering NFTs. And I think sports is pioneering so many things. And one of those is being media. And I think sports is now essentially a pivot for a lot of industries to actually monetize and leverage the mass audience that all sports entities and disciplines garner throughout various age groups across the world. Some of them in the United States being basketball, baseball. Like this week, there's a lot of things going on in the baseball league, as I understand. I'm trying to educate myself on that space where they're having a lot of these picks and where players are actually being drafted and switched between teams, much like we see in the English Premier League. But the amount of money that goes into these contracts is insane. Like some of these guys are signing 10-year agreements worth $400 million. It's insane. And the reason why I bring that up is because there was an article that I found that just kind of relates to what I had seen, and why I want to talk about this is the impact that sports has on so many industries, not even on NFTs or cryptocurrencies or anything in merchandising like we've been speaking about the last few episodes. So this article essentially was speaking about how athletes, and they were referring to how the NBA, like we've spoken about before, is pioneering the Web3 space, not only the NFT space. And they had interviewed an athlete. His name was Spencer Dinwiddie. He was drafted in the National Basketball League, I think, in 2014. And he was essentially saying, so he became quite a big name and obviously became quite successful. But outside of that, he's become more successful as a businessman, much like a lot of athletes are doing, right?
Yes.
And he was essentially saying, and it's something that I've actually been pondering on quite some time, especially looking at like the English Premier League athletes, like they live these lavish lives, and you would question some of their intellect, to be fair. But who are we to say? I mean, these guys are multimillionaires. But he was saying essentially, like when he had joined the NBA, and this was like 2014. It's not even that long ago, right? That the player room conversations in the lockers would be more around cars, girls, money, all that kind of stuff. And he says now it's kind of shifted where a lot of the younger guys that are joining these teams are talking about Web3 and how they're going to monetize it and how they're actually going to leverage their brand and actually take it to the next level. And a lot of people had done this, the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and David Beckham, all with fashion and their image. But what it made me realize is that, and we kind of have touched on this before, that the people that have money are going to be the people that are winning this space. And obviously not a general blanket approach, But like, how do you see the advantage that people have with money, particularly focusing on NFTs and cryptocurrencies?
Well, like you said, it does allow people to jump in early and jump in a lot bigger than those that don't have money. But like I think with athletes, they getting a different stream of information versus the older guys and girls back in the day. You know, they all have Instagram, TikTok, um, watch YouTube. There's just so much information that allows to create a concise understanding of what you can, you know, align yourself with in the future. And for a lot of athletes, this is perhaps something that they want to venture in because it allows them to be in a position of control, especially for their brand and for the longevity of their brand, and also for the future legacy of whatever generation they want to, you know, build within their home. So yeah, I think Web3 allows them to transcend that old school model to a point where they feel a lot more comfortable and also a lot more cool. Right now, it's a cool thing to be in this position, despite the scrutiny and all the backlash. I think the peeps that are in crypto right now and NFTs per se are quite content and optimistic for the future. Let's put it that way. Yes, there's people that have lost big, perhaps not those, or should I say, the kind of people that didn't do their research or perhaps got in with the wrong intentions just to swindle a quick buck. So yeah, I think that athletes are getting more conscious, and that's great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what they're going to be doing and how they can help their fans inherently as a result.
So I like what you said. Is like it's all going to unfold, and it is unfolding.
Yes.
But it's something that I'm seeing predominantly in football, like in soccer in Europe, is that a lot of these athletes, a lot of these professional football players, are that they're very good at what they do when it comes to
Yes.
sport, and they
Yes.
get to a certain point where they become famous, and their fame brings them a lot of opportunities. And there's individuals like Paul Pogba, there's individuals like Jesse Lingard that are often ridiculed in social media because these guys are, what it seems, applying a lot more time and energy towards their TikTok stories or creating a brand or clothing brand and having
Mm.
the latest kind of fashion. And obviously, a lot of the older generation believes that this should not be the case. They shouldn't be doing
Yes.
this. It takes away a lot of their attention. It's
Mm.
not professional. But I mean, obviously, the younger guys would argue that, and I would stand on both sides because I
Yes.
can see the value and I can see the reason behind that.
Mm.
But what I'm thinking now, and I mean, this is just a hypothetical thing, but I think we're getting into the conversation where we can just talk our minds.
Yes.
Is that a lot of these athletes now are mindful of the fact that their careers are very short-lived, and what that means is like, yes, they can earn money in the Premier League or in the Spanish La Liga or in the NBA or the NFL, but their careers are short-lived.
Mm.
Very fair to say that some sports are different. Even some positions in soccer are different. The
Yeah. Yeah.
goalkeeper will
Yeah. Yeah.
typically go to an older age. But my point is, like,
Yes.
a lot of these guys are already thinking of ways in which they can invest their money that they're earning, as well as create brands and create organizations, create businesses. So when they do get to the point of retirement, they're set up and their families are set up. And you
Mm.
can't argue against that. But I think it's
No.
just the
Not at
way
all.
a lot of them go about doing it.
Mm.
So my point now is that, do you think that this movement where these athletes are more focused on the social media aspect, the more gamification, the engagement of the fans, which will effectively maybe create opportunities in the metaverse where
Mm.
people and athletes, like we've spoken about on previous episodes, can now engage with their audience where you're actually competing against the athlete? Do
Yeah.
you think this movement is actually going to be detrimental to the growth of the sport, or do you think it's just going to create a different way of looking at sport?
I think it's gonna be twofold, dude, and perhaps a little more detrimental. You know, because it kind of takes away from the game intrinsically. Like it allows the individual to personify themselves in this space, which is not really conducive for sport, unless it's at a should I say, e-gaming level where people are playing it, like, but you can't in reality play football in the cloud, you and I, unless we do it through a mechanism that allows us to exist there,
Well,
but
I
it's
mean, we've all seen that movie, The Ready Player One, right?
yes, yes, yes,
And I mean, obviously, right now
yeah,
we can't see that physicality happening, the
no, for
tangible
sure,
side of it,
for
right?
sure.
But carry on. But I think
N-
it's super
no,
interesting for
definitely,
you to mention that.
definitely, because then we're gonna have to align the whole soul thing with it. Where's your soul? Is it where you're sitting playing, and experiencing this Web3 space, or can you transcend and feel like you're there? So this question is up for grabs in the future. But right now, like, we could play sports online through a gaming mechanism that could be aligned to, for instance, a particular athlete, but as a person, like how they play in these new unravelings is dependent on who they are. What's their character? What was the real reason they became an athlete? Was it for finances? Was it because they have a pure passion for it? Because if they have a pure passion for it, they'll probably get into the more altruistic movements, like supporting a sport academia, sport academies, all that kind of stuff, to try and raise awareness around that sport through the Web3 space, purely because you can build capital a lot easier, uh, perhaps just through the whole mechanism of investing. There's a lot of ways. We've chatted on many mechanisms as to how this can be beneficial to an athlete. But with that being said, how they go about it is definitely determined about who they are, because everyone's going to be so autonomous in this space that they don't need managers, they don't need this kind of thing. They just need education and understanding of who they are and what they're trying to achieve. And if that can align itself with fulfilling endeavors, then I think that's what's going to be the mechanism that drives athletes in the space, will be the how they feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I think that's actually something that's so significant now, and what I'm referring to is the impact that money is having on the game, regardless
Yes,
of what
yes,
game it is.
yes.
And we see it often in most football leagues. The top 3 or 4 teams are the teams with the most amount of money, whether it's oil money, whether it's American money, whether it's Russian money in the past. My point is, like, I think this understanding or this perception of how money can ruin sport has been spoken about for many years now. Since I can remember in the Premier League when um, Blackburn Rovers were bought way back, and then they got Alan Shearer, and he came and played
Yo,
there, and they won the league. And
yes,
then
I
after
remember
that
that.
was Chelsea after that, and then after
Mm,
Chelsea was Manchester City, and then amongst this there's other teams in Italy that were bought by China groups. And obviously, what this does to the game is that someone kind of it makes it unfair in the sense that you have the ability to now purchase as many players as you want at whatever price tag you want, because they've tried to introduce like the financial fair play rules that essentially um, doesn't allow people just to go and spend money as they will. But to be fair, that's been done, and they've kind of scrapped that rule now, because there's been players that are being bought for $150 million, and the rule, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is that you cannot spend more than you earn.
yes.
And a lot of these rich clubs that are bought by these owners, they're funding it with their own money. And now a lot of these owners, and you look at the PSG teams, which is owned by this Arab organization, they are looking to do the NFTs, and they are looking to see how else they can monetize this thing, which falls into
Mm,
this conversation that we're
mm,
speaking about. What is the impact this is going to have? And
mm,
for me, and honestly, as a true sports fan, the introduction of such money, like Newcastle got bought over now. So in the next 5 years in the English Premier League, Newcastle will be competing for the Premier League.
yes.
Manchester United and Arsenal and these teams will become a thing of the past. Will they? I don't know. Because what we're experiencing now is unprecedented. It's never been done
Yes,
before.
yes, yes,
In
yes,
in
yes,
this scale,
yes.
yes, teams have been bought out, but not on this scale and the amount of money that you can generate from the purchase of an asset. And what I mean by that is that Manchester United are paying Cristiano Ronaldo £500,000 a week after tax. And everyone's thinking the guy's 37 years old, has come to the tail end of his career. But
Mm.
what you also have to realize is his commercial value.
Yes.
The day he signs is the day they sell however many hundreds of thousands of shirts across the world,
Mm.
monetizing their brand, photo images, photo rights.
Mm.
There's so much money that meets the eye, so it's kind of worth that investment. So my point is, like, it's not stopping people from buying these big name players, and I wonder
True.
if so. The reason why I think this is something worth talking about is because Mike Tyson, we all know who Mike Tyson is. He did an NFT collection, and now with this whole this NFT winter, which
Mm.
we all know, the people that are involved in this space, that this is just
Their market.
at the trough of the
Mm.
it's at the trough of the cyclical cycle that is inherent in most economic and macroeconomic growth in various industries that we've seen in the past. But his NFT collection dropped by 90%, even though he holds this massive brand. So
Yes,
think
yes,
about it
yes.
now, like there is a big tug of war in this industry now.
Mm.
Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? The people we
Mm.
are speaking to via Sports Finder are very apprehensive, but
Mm.
in just as much and even more so, even more interested in finding out more. So it's
Yes,
almost like you have to get your foot in the door now. But like,
definitely.
how do you see this all unfolding?
Well, look, this is a very interesting question because, like, how many people are going to leverage their NFT, or should I say, or NFTs, focus primarily as this is my source of income in the future? I think that's perhaps the wrong way to look at it. And if people are looking at it in a way where, like, this is a technology that is going to help me do the things I want to do in life. If you go about it that way, then I think there's definitely great opportunity. But obviously, a lot of people are going to get into that space with this idea that they're going to have some huge ass portfolio attached to it in the future, right? So they get too caught up in that, and they put all their eggs in that basket to the point where, like you said, you get a 90% drop on your portfolio when everything's on the line is going to be very substantial, for someone that's perhaps living a high lifestyle. Um, like, for example, you retire, you get out, and you throw everything at NFTs, especially in this period of time, and
Yeah.
with the intention of this is going to make me even bigger. It's going to make me Jay-Z level. You like a good, great,
Interesting person that you chose.
why I say that is because Jay-Z bought a painting by Jean-Michel Basquiat, and it's called Empire. And it made me understand why he did that song with Rihanna. I think it was in New York. Funny enough, you there. Anyway, the
Yeah.
painting's about the Empire State
So,
Building.
so when we do the recording, we'll have New York playing in the background, just so everyone knows.
So yes, like, I think if people are just focusing on that as trying to leverage that, I'm gonna be this main gent or lady in the future based on this NFT rising to stardom, then I think that's the wrong mindset, because anything can happen in the space. Your community is essentially the people that are holding value and creating that intrinsic demand. So without them, you can still do a stupid tweet, you can still be a little idealistic, and everyone can say, well, fuck you, I'm out, and boom. Literally, it's just by a click of a button. That's how people can get canceled now. Even an athlete, even a Ronaldo. Ronaldo just needs to say one wrong thing, hypothetically, or do one wrong thing, and the dude's career can go downhill. Yes, you'll be still notorious, and you'll have the people that are following him underground. But if you really had to do something serious, like what happened to Oscar Pistorius, perfect example, people fucking hate that gent. Despite what he's done in the past. That happened to Lance Armstrong as well. You know what I mean? When he figured when people came out with his shit, perfect. Ooh.
Another person that my friend mentioned tonight, my American mates, he was talking about Hansi Cronje. Same kind of
Yes,
thing, right? Also
100%.
rose to stardom,
Yes,
got caught out.
one mistake.
Yeah.
Now with blockchain Web3, it's even easier to nullify you, my man. If you don't play smart, out. And if people look at Ronaldo and say, this guy is just about the money and he wants our money, well, fuck you. And it just takes a movement. And all of a sudden, all these NFTs, new. So that's the thing, dude. Like, people just need to be virtuous in the space and bring value to the sports industry, as a result. Then yes, then
I
those
agree.
guys are going to be top notch.
But this is the interesting thing now, bro. And the reason why there's so many things going off in my head now is that a lot of the conversations that we're having with sports fans is naturally with athletes or their representatives and people in the industry. And the most common thing that comes out of this is that athletes are difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Athletes are difficult to work with. And it's because they're busy, they're training whatever amount of time of the day, but the ego is obviously one thing that gets you to this point in your career. You cannot be a professional athlete if you don't have some form of ego.
Yeah, true.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's not possible, but I would say it's not favorable for you, to be fair.
Yeah,
but because there's numerous examples of this. Like I can talk to you about this for days about Manchester United, just so everyone knows. But considering how last season went, but going back to the conversation of how money is influencing sports, I don't know if you've seen, and I know you do enjoy playing some golf, is that naturally we've been brought up watching the PGA Tour. And now this other Saudi-backed organization called LRV or Live, however you pronounce it, is now introduced something that's very different to the PGA in the sense that they've included a lot more people. The prize pool is a lot more money.
Yeah.
But what I've seen is that they're making it more of an experience. They're making it one in which they're having events, they're having music, entertainment, and not to say the PGA is not doing that, but they're making. I think they've realized that there's a big market in the yes. Well, they're not even adapting; they're creating because they knew.
Yeah, true.
And what they've done is, and speaking to your point of also with loyalty and how money is spearheading sport and how athletes are doing it for the wrong reason. This is a prime example of where a lot of the gents, as you would say, from the PGA have shifted over to LRV because the prize pool's mad. Did you know that the first two tournaments they had, two South Africans won individually each time, and they received, and I stand to be corrected, between $2 to $4 million.
Yeah,
South African rands. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, my point is like he's gone there because he knows he can make the money because the exchange rate is next level. Now this is animosity between the two brands naturally, but now there's also animosity between the players that are either staying and moving or going and coming, whatever it may be. And the last thing I'll just say here is that Tiger Woods was offered between, I think, $400 to $700 million to join LRV, and he turned it down. If I was him, I would do the same. It speaks to your point of, if you do something silly, you ruin your legacy.
Yes. That's actually a smart observation because I actually didn't think about that, because I heard about Tiger Woods declining that and also putting him in a position to be a billionaire in dollars, or at least in someday, I don't know. But to turn that down based on a virtuous decision, the scrutiny or to compromise your career is just not worth it, especially for a person like that. And he's got a lot of influence for top tier golfers, especially youngsters that are a little conservative still, that aren't necessarily just about the money. They are about the game and the professionality that's akin to it. And with that being said, golf is a very conservative sport. Like, people don't play barefooted. Like, I've been caught, and it's it's not cool. Like, people don't dig it. It's like against the system essentially. So with this new age mechanism that's come along with LIV, it's interesting because I think they're trying to bring in the more Gen Z target audience, even though there's going to be baby boomers, millennials that are going to be super interested in that because they're perhaps their favorite golfers there, or it's just a very, like you mentioned, an experience even when watching. And also for people to in the future go and want to go there, like people that aren't even golfers, exactly like what the F1's done. They've really brought a whole new age group to the sport, which is brilliant. Because I hear now, even in the office, talking about F1, I've never heard about people speaking about F1 the way they do now.
But you also, to that point, did you ever watch that documentary on Netflix? Or I think
no, I haven't.
Drive to Survive, something like that. that for me, like I used to be very much into Formula One when I was
Mm.
growing up, and that's by virtue of Michael Schumacher, but also my dad's
Yes.
influence.
Yes.
And I fell out of love with it. And I think when I had watched that Netflix docu series, I fell in love with it again. And last season, I watched it quite attentively. Where last season was one of the most controversial with the last
Yeah.
race. He went
Very true.
Verstappen and actually won. But I've just thought of something here, and I'd love to get your opinion on it. Is that so? We're speaking about athletes, even like
Yes.
now. Say when Cristiano Ronaldo was before he came to Manchester United, there was talk of him going to Manchester City, but he had built
Oh
his
yeah.
name and his legacy at Manchester United. So if he had gone there, it would have impacted his relationship with all the Manchester United fans, and even people that don't support either club would
Mm.
question his loyalty because it's
Yes.
more for money, right?
Mm. Yeah.
What do you think the impact of these decisions will have on the value of NFTs in 10 years from now? Because, like you're saying, Tiger Woods also found himself in a peculiar situation when he was caught cheating on his wife with various
Mm.
women. And
Mm.
everyone
Mm.
thought that would be the downward spiral, the detriment to his career, and he's come
Mm.
out on top. There's
Yes.
been other athletes and celebrities that have not, like Amber Heard, it'll be
Yes.
incredibly difficult for her to come out of what she's just been through. But
Yes.
say, for instance, she had an NFT collection, or Tiger Woods had an NFT
Mm.
collection, and that incident happened. It's like a stock market crash. Everyone's like, no,
Yes.
I
Yes.
realize this is
Yes.
going to lose my value. Let me pull out.
Yes. Yes.
So this is the risk with NFTs being directly related to athletes that are currently playing. The veterans, you probably have a bit of a safer bet because you would hope that nothing scandalous comes out.
Mm.
But
Mm.
it's something that I've been thinking about, but I just don't know if it holds value.
Mm. No, look, that's a valuable question because I think yes, there is a lot of positional play that you put your brand on when you put it onto an NFT space, purely because it follows that metric, much like the stock market, and it's ultimately like pegging your brand to a financial you know asset. So even if you're playing it smooth, someone can just decide to sell off a big portion and say they were quite a big player, uh, known as whales, in your NFT range, for instance, and
Yeah,
they just sell off, and it creates a bit of what's known as what's it when you're short. So
yeah.
imagine you on the best time in your career, and people start to short your NFT range just because that's what's happening, and all of a sudden it throws your game off, right? So there's this element, right? That's up there. It's virtual. It has now a monetary pegging system to it that's out of your control. It's got to do with the people that are in that space. And yes, you'll own a couple or if not all royalties of everything. So it's still going to be dependent on the supply and demand uh, algorithms that are entrenched into your brand and who actually are invested in your brand. And no one really knows, right? Um, you can launch, for instance, Tiger Woods can launch an NFT range, and a whole bunch of Somalian pirates can buy it up. We don't know.
You always coming with the craziest
You know what I
analogies,
mean?
man.
Like, and then what? They just sit there. Tiger Woods, yeah, see all my NFTs, gonzos, because you just see the wallet number, right? And there's just cats with money, like you said. We don't know because
Mm,
it's open to anyone, really. It's the cats who's got the money and who's there and who's willing to jump in. And if you are a thug, you are more than willing to throw in for something that especially if you've taken this money that you can't really audit in a way. So this is the best way to launder it. And this is exactly what a lot of criminals are doing. And I'm not just saying that it's just criminals that can impact the market, but it's also people that don't really care. And let's be real, in a space that you're autonomous, it's going to be very, very prevalent. And you can already see it in social media.
yeah,
Well, they
that's
lack
that's such a
compassion.
valuable
Mm,
that's a valuable thing, and I think I actually want to talk about this on our next episode. I
mm,
think the intention going into crypto and NFTs is definitely going to have a significant impact on the success, not only on a particular collection, a particular coin, a particular blockchain. It's the whole ecosystem. But I can
Yes.
see, like we've seen in, like we see on social media, the negative impact that people can have by virtue of being anonymous.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
in saying that, Jono, we've come
Amazing.
to the end again. Everyone, thank you for joining us again. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting some good feedback and people actually reaching out to us to join the
Amazing.
podcast. So we're going to have a few more guests in the coming weeks. And I'd just like to say, I think it's we've grown and I'm excited to see how we can build this brand. Jono, as we go
Brilliant.
and as we normally do, any final remarks?
You know what? This time I haven't come across anything, but I'm gonna always stick with something that's very aligned with me, and that's to be grateful. Remain grateful, and in moments when you in doubt, just find a little bit of gratitude. Okay. Ciao.
Yeah, I love that, dude. All right, cheers.